questions. So this, as you know, is the LECOM Physician Wellness Grand Round Series. One of our alumni, Dr. James Beltler, itself has been very involved. He's a system director of the Allegheny Health Network Cancer Institute for the Southern Region and Oncology Care Coordination. But he also was very involved in an organization in Pittsburgh that's going to be moving into also all of Western PA, and that's Lending Hearts. And this organization, though, looking at developing it as a relationship with LECOM and an opportunity to also have a club formally on the campus, Erie, but we're also going to create an opportunity for membership throughout. Anyone at any campus be part of it. But with that, we're kind of working with the founder and executive director, Vaso Palioris, and she will give us a little bit of a background. This also introduce a speaker. They run a special speaker for us today, so we're very excited about that. So without further ado, I'll turn it over. All right, okay.
Dr. It's a great honor and privilege to be here with all of you this afternoon. We're very excited for this opportunity to work with LECOM and form this Lending Hearts Club, and to be a part of bringing in presenters for these various grand rounds as we go forward. And I'm extremely excited for our first one today. Just a very quick introduction. I started Lending Hearts now, I can't believe it's been 13 years this year. And I founded it based on my family's journey when my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma when she was 17 years old and a junior in high school. And what we learned from that experience was that there were wonderful programs that would come in and out of the hospital to provide emotional and social and physical support. But what about when you're an outpatient, or when you get out and are trying to tackle the challenges of life while living with a diagnosis? And that's where we started and have formed, and that is the premise of our organization. We offer these free emotional, social, physical supports to not only the patient, but the entire family, and with a special focus on children and young adults. And a lot of folks don't realize that when the term young adult is used in the world of oncology, that goes up to the age of 39, 40 years old. So it's a very broad range of a patient dynamic. And so that's why what we offer appeals to the patients and the family members of all ages. So, and going in line with today's topic on wellness and the focus of stress, dealing with stress, anxiety from the patient standpoint, from you as a student, everybody encounters stress on a daily basis of different magnitudes. So I am grateful to introduce our speaker today, Aimee Lamendola. Aimee is extremely talented and well-versed in this area, as she is a certified instructor with the Benson Henry Institute at Massachusetts General Hospital through the Positivity, Resilience and Relaxation Program. She is also a certified coach and mentor of the HeartMath Program, as well as a 500 certified yoga instructor with over 3,000 hours of teaching. She is a wonderful individual who I think you will enjoy this next hour of her words and practice for all of you today. And just as a quick note, before we end today, I will place in the chat box a survey link that we welcome all of you to complete and share your feedback from today and thoughts going forward. And I will also share a speaker that we have coming up with Lending Hearts that we invite all of you to be a part of as well. So without further ado, Aimee, I turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for having me today. It really is an honor and a privilege to be here. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. Stress and anxiety is not limited to any one area, and I don't need to tell you how much stress you have in the environment in which you all work and learn, But I do want to differentiate for the sake of our talk, which is that there is a spectrum of stress. So some of which can be motivating and we perform and feel well. But what we are talking about is the chronic, ongoing, and unmitigated stress. And this stress comes from the feeling that you're just under-resourced, and it leads to anxiety, depression, burnout. So while LECOM is the common thread amongst all of you, I invite you to broaden your perspective during this talk, your perspective of you. So go beyond you as a medical student, as a resident, as a physician, as an educator, and expand to include your whole life, really as a whole, so that you can honor your own personal challenges. We all have personal upheavals and joys and deep connections that you have outside of LECOM. Truly, life is in session for all of you. So the questions we seek to answer are, how do you create balance? How do you step into your own personal leadership and be your best self daily? How do you show up in your life grounded, calm, positive, not only for your own personal health and well-being, but also for all those around you, right? Including your patients. How do you tackle those challenges and then still have energy left over at the end of the day to enjoy life, right? Or to put it one other way, how do you show up and meet life in the moment and care for yourself and others without getting burned out? The answer to these questions is that we need methods. We need science-proven practices to turn towards so that we can bring our best selves forward with more regularity. We need practices and skills to keep us resilient and positive so that we can be there for families, friends, spouses, and patients, who, by the way, also have complex lives of their own and are also looking for reassurance from you, right? This is not about getting rid of stress, but rather using tools and feeling empowered by them to live life well and increase your own resiliency while doing so. Resiliency is like a rubber band ball that bounces. It's not just one band on that little sphere that makes it bounce. Resiliency is a combination of inner strengths that can be learned and then outer resources. And the path to more resilience is not a straight one, but a little wavy line, and it comes from small choices and adjustments daily. And when we are feeling more resilient, we can begin to see our own challenges really, truly in a more creative outlook and reimagine what's possible with the finite amount of energy we have in a day. So I've been invited to speak to you about some of the evidence-based lifestyle choices and mind-body practices that build resiliency. In my work in the oncology space and in my own life, I witnessed firsthand how these application of these tools, method, acquisition of skills truly create positive shifts and people begin to feel like themselves or their best selves again. So here's an image to get us started, an image of well-being for our conversation, right? The surgical and pharmaceutical legs of health and well-being are a very good length. They're strong and stable. It's the self-care leg that is generally pretty short for people. And without it, right, the chair tips. There is vast, established, as well as growing amounts of knowledge and study regarding the mind-body practices and lifestyle choices. We'll call these for today the tools of self-care to grow that leg, right? We're going to discuss some of the most commonly used mind-body practices. I'm going to guide you through two of them. So you're going to just sit back. If you're somewhere where you can do that, just sit back and listen. And these might be ones that you're able to do at home on your own. We'll also discuss one that is very portable, short, and on the go, and we'll touch on lifestyle choices. The hope here, right, is that if you become more proficient in self-care, not only will you feel better, but you're more likely then to share with your patients. You all know what it feels like to be your best self, where you can roll with the punches, so to speak, as you navigate life. However, here are our friends on the slides that are suffering from unmitigated stress, where it feels like life is overwhelming, and then the next little stressor that comes feels unmanageable. Here, we're likely to lose our temper, for example, with a loved one over something very small when we're feeling like this. Chronic stress creates conditions in the body and mind that are not effective for navigating our modern day world. That evolutionary response of flight and fight to what are modern day stressors is often a mismatch to our current environment. So over time, that unmitigated and frequent biochemical reactions are harmful. And when we're feeling like these folks on the slide, truth be told, which could be any of us at any time, we've also experimented with some maladaptive coping, unhealthy coping strategies to like take the edge off. These are usually counterproductive. They cause negative consequences. They often work in the short term, but in the grand scheme of things, they cause trouble. Some examples of maladaptive coping are numbing through drinking and drugs, using alcohol as a sleep aid, self-soothing, maybe by binging on foods that we take comfort in, isolating, might be even through arguing and aggression. They might feel good in the moment. They might offer temporary relief, but they do not contribute to our resilience. They fail to return us to the homeostasis so that when the next stressor comes in, we're operating from a higher set point. Often leads to more unhealthy choices. But here's the thing. When we are stressed, we will cope, right? I guess that's the good news. But we can choose healthy or unhealthy strategies. There are options to deal with stress. So instead of the continuous flight and fight, we can learn and deal more effectively by using stress buffering resources. So by choosing differently, we then deny that maladaptive Groundhog Day and we enable an upward spiral using adaptive self-care methods that include like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, gratitude, lifestyle upgrades and movement, nourishment, sleep hygiene, seeking support and time in nature. These all help build resiliency. They allow us to adapt to stress, right? Using these methods helps us return to a stable level of physiological functioning and remain positive despite extreme exposures to stress. They do take practice. But here's the thing, the more often we respond to stress in an adaptive manner, the more likely we'll be able to handle it effectively in the future. So these self-care strategies are just to help bring your best self forward with more regularity. So let's look at mind-body practices here. So here are other ways to help manage stress. These generally elicit the relaxation response. That's the opposite of the stress response, to increase parasympathetic activation. And it's done with non-judgmental attention. And so while the stress response is automatic, you never tell yourself it's time to be stressed, it just happens. Eliciting the relaxation response can be self-directed. Mind-body practices have been used for thousands of years in almost every culture in written history. They're often used to promote insight, peace, enlightenment, connection to something larger than yourself. But today, many individuals are attracted to these practices for just the perceived physical and mental health benefits. So mind-body structure practices in the short term, right? Slowed heart rate, lowered blood pressure, reduced serum cortisol, improved cognitive function. There are longer term benefits. So after several weeks of practice, mind-body practices lead to physiological changes such as lower peak cortisol, improved immune function, increased heart rate variability, downregulation of pro-inflammatory genes, biomarkers, reversal of telomere shortening. You'll feel better, right? So aside from all of that, we generally feel better. One of the most widely recognized practices is mindfulness. I'm sure most of you have heard about it, right? There is no one agreed upon definition, but what is widely accepted is from Dr. Kabat-Zinn, which is paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment, right? It can be a formal practice, something like a seated body scan, which we're going to practice together, or something like breath awareness. Or it could be an informal approach, like an informal practice, like I'm going to drive mindfully from point A to B. How many times have you driven somewhere and you can't remember your journey? Same thing with walking somewhere. So it could be just walking the stairwells mindfully for you. Mindfully listening, right? Just really being present. Mindful eating. We all have the ability to be mindful, and we can train to be more mindful. So whether that is through informal or formal practices, what we want to consider is how mindfulness can be applied in everyday life, both inside, right, and outside of LECOM. Mindfulness truly is a natural quality that it's just easily forgotten as we get caught up in our busy and frantic lifestyles. But what happens is, as we're practicing paying attention deliberately to our moment-to-moment experiences, non-judgmentally curious, we grow our awareness and we learn how to step off of autopilot. We stop the constant doing. We literally experience being in our world by bringing awareness to our physical body, sensations, patterns of thoughts and emotions. And what we learn is that by watching them, we learn that our thoughts and emotions are not just facts. They come and go quickly. We also, as we observe ourselves, right, we can feel the tension in our own bodies from stress that we often habituate to. But when we bring our mindful awareness of how we're holding ourselves throughout the day, right, it gives us the opportunity to soften into a more relaxed state. There's been a number of studies on the effects of mindfulness in healthcare. It is increasing. This review was published in May of 2023. It included 31 articles through 2020. The criteria were at least 50% participation were medical students. It had to include a mindfulness intervention, and it had to analyze the outcomes relating to that mindfulness intervention. It was peer reviewed. The effectiveness was between 4 and 7 weeks. Some were as long as 8. They decided they actually didn't need that 8th week. The courses didn't differ that greatly. They did have an education piece. They had a practice piece. People were encouraged to practice at home. But courses actually without face-to-face sessions were also effective. And the positive changes here, right? There was positive changes in self-compassion. And some of these changes, you can read them on the slide here. I'm not going to read all of them to you, but some of these changes, they did 2 of the studies followed up at 1.5 years and 6 years. And the results regarding well-being and mental distress remained unchanged. It's pretty remarkable. There is, let's see, let me get here. So whether you are informally practicing as you go about, so whether you're stuttering, conversing, eating, walking, resting, whatever you're doing, just notice and watch. You know, you can become more aware, and your insight will grow, because as you include this piece of non-judgmental self-awareness and you notice your mental states and you notice that you're coming off of autopilot, you naturally want to return towards balance. And I think this is why those long-term follow-ups were either better or unchanged, right? So I'm going to guide you through an experience. This is one of the most widely used in the mindfulness space. Mindful attention takes time to cultivate. Our minds evolve to think, plan, reflect, organize. They wander around a lot. So if you're multitasking right now, and you can give yourself just this 10 minutes to try to reset your nervous system and see what happens. Mindfulness is just learning to notice when the mind has wandered and then firmly bringing it back. So if you haven't done these, you may notice that your mind wanders 100 times, and that's just 100 opportunities to strengthen your mindful muscle. So if you are somewhere, like I did notice that some of you were getting on, some of you were driving, so you will not do this to the same degree. Please keep yourself safe. But if you are seated somewhere, I encourage you, you're not going to do it walking either, but if you are seated, I'd like you to go ahead and uncross your legs, put your feet flat on the floor. let your arms rest down by your sides. You know, our hands are busy all day long. Kind of just let your hands rest. Let your shoulders soften. And by the way, before we begin, if you were at home doing this because you liked it eventually, I want to remind people that this could be done lying down, but for our purposes today, we'll stay seated. Good. I want you to tell yourself right now, with your eyes closed, that there is nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. And notice how difficult this is for you to do right now, right? There's nowhere to go, nothing to do other than to take care of each moment as it arises, beginning with this moment, this one right here and right now. If you feel safe doing so, close your eyes, or you could leave just a soft gaze, but closing them allows you to draw inward with a little more ease. Just start by bringing awareness to your breath. Not trying to control your breath in any way, just beginning to notice how it feels in the body. So maybe you feel the belly filling and emptying, or perhaps you feel the breath in the chest right now. Or perhaps you feel the air moving in and out through the nose and throat. But wherever you can most easily feel the breath, that's where you become aware of the breath. And become aware of the weight of your body. Welcoming yourself home into your body. Mind present, right here and right now. And removing the attention, your own mental awareness through the body, taking it with the breath down to the feet. You're not moving the feet, but simply becoming aware of the feet, the soles of the feet, tops of the feet. Just noticing if your feet are warm or cold right now, or maybe there's socks against your feet. But your feet carry you all around all day, but right now they're just at rest, receiving your attention. And if you have no sensations at all in your feet, then that's the way it is. And moving up to include the ankles, so the entire ankle joint on the right and the left. And draw awareness up to the lower legs, to the calf muscle in the back, and the shin in the front. Again, on the right and left. Sometimes we only notice our bodies when it calls to us through pain or discomfort. But we can increase our awareness and become conscious of what's here right now. Maybe you feel clothing against your skin. You draw up now through the backs of the knees, the kneecaps, the joint inside, and then all the way up to and including the thighs, the large muscles of the upper thighs, the long bones, perhaps feeling the weight of this area of the body into your chair. And then move up to the area of the hips. This is a place where we can often put our hand. And you're just increasing your awareness to any sensation here. And then breathe up into the entire belly. And as you breathe out, just release the lower half of the body from your awareness. And if your mind wandered at all, invite the mind to come back and reside inside the body right here and right now. And you may have to do that over and over again. But it's not a problem because your body is always here waiting for you. Draw your attention up now into the low back. This can be a part of the body that does carry tension. And if there is some pain for you there today, just expand your awareness to maybe notice the quality, the nature of the sensation. Sometimes we try to move away from what's uncomfortable. In doing so, we don't learn anything. So move in and see what's there for you. Perhaps a quality might be just tightness or throbbing. But maybe there's nothing like that in your back right now. Just notice. And then move up into the middle back, the broader expanse of the back. And a little higher to the space that's between the shoulder blades. Another area that can sometimes hold tension. But draw all the way up into the upper back and around the shoulders to the right and to the left. Breathe into the back and feel maybe how, as you breathe in, there's an expansion between the ribs. Move your awareness to the sides of the body. So from the waist on both the right and left side, all the way up to the armpit. And feel the sides of the body expanding with the breath, along with any other sensations that might be there. Feel the lungs filling and emptying. You're just being available to see what is here right now. And if the mind wandered, invite yourself to come back gently, lovingly, with open arms. And as you breathe in now, breathe into the shoulders and let your awareness move down the arms, through the elbows and the wrists, the hands, and into the fingertips. Your hands are busy all day working, but right now they're just at rest, receiving awareness and attention. Perhaps they're warm or damp or cool, throbbing. Just notice what's there, and when you're ready, you'll release your awareness from the hands and draw up through the arms again. Again, both the right and the left, and into the shoulder area. And if your mind wandered, we're now at the neck area, the back of the neck, sides of the neck. You're just compassionately accepting what's here. Perhaps you feel the front of the throat. Perhaps you can feel yourself swallow. Bring your awareness to the lower jaw, the lips, the tongue, the teeth, the mouth. And then release from the mouth and move up to the eyes, temples, forehead, and around the ears. It's as if you could breathe in, up and under the face. It's like there's warm water washing away tension. Our faces are busy expressing wants and needs all day long. But in this moment, let it be at rest and just receive the gift of your attention. And then move all the way up to the top of the head. And as you breathe out, travel mentally from the top of the head, staying present as you move down to the toes. And then as you breathe in, you'll move from the toes back to the top of the head. You can do this a couple of times. And just know that at any time you can return to this feeling, right? Simply by drawing your awareness into the body and into the present moment. When you're ready, take a slightly deeper breath. And when you might bring some movement into your fingers and toes, and then open your eyes. That is a practice that, if you have a hard time falling asleep at night, sometimes that can help catch the first stage of sleep to help put you to sleep. Very similar to the first stage of sleep, the relaxation responses. But that was short. But that's not for everyone. So let's move on to the next one, Bree. Yeah. So yoga, right? Why do people do yoga? I was trying to come up with a clever slide here, but because people feel better, really. The general public may not be aware of the documented well-being benefits of yoga, but there's about 50 million people in the US that practice yoga simply because they feel better. But science is starting to affirm those claims. So if a seated mindfulness practice doesn't work for you, yoga is just considered mindful movement. It's about becoming attuned to self, right? Body, mind, breath, and letting go of judgment. It works well because the movement in yoga is designed to release tension, to release the unnecessary holding that we have that we're sometimes unaware of. And in doing so, we end up undoing corresponding tension in both the breath and the mind. So as you focus on your body and your body breathe, those become placeholders for the present moment. So it stops your train of thought. That can often be the cause of stress. So again, it's thousands of year-old practice. There is an intelligence to the science of yoga to balance body, mind, breath, and even spirit for some people. And although there are many published studies, research trials that have demonstrated and advocated yoga as a treatment or an adjunct therapy for many disease entities, many of these studies are small, they're single center trials, non-standardized methods. Couple that with the fact that there's a wide variety of different styles of yoga. However, it is worth noting that big or small the study is, the results are generally positive, physically, mentally, and emotionally. There is a study that was done, it was a review of US medical schools using yoga, and the authors searched, they found 156 articles that they independently reviewed, and they wound up using 31. And they searched between 1998 and 2020, medical school location, sample size, response rates, the model of yoga, intervention, and study design. The criteria was just there had to be a yoga component. So part of the study there could have been courses that had other mindfulness aspects to it. Ultimately 8 studies matched the criteria, and it included 672 participants, and it was yoga classes somewhere between 6 and 11 weeks. And what they found, whether it was educational, recreational, or yoga being used for research, they had positive effects on students' mental health, well-being, stress levels, and their medical assessments. So, sometimes we don't have access to going to a studio, but there are plenty of teachers on YouTube, and then you can pick the link that you want. The next one, gatekeeper of positive emotion. I love this. This is the very portable practice, and is because there's always something to be grateful for, but sometimes we fail to connect with appreciation because it's long been recognized that we have a negativity bias. So not only do we focus on the negative, we tend to give it more weight. So the negative can really overshadow the good. Gratitude plays an important role in heightening our awareness of the positive moments. That seems so simple, doesn't it? But it's true. The calling, though, is to practice in good times and in bad, to really habituate to being grateful. Grateful people tend to cope with stress in smarter ways, right? In the research world, though, in recent years, gratitude has emerged as a really compelling practice for both the psychological and physical well-beings, but it has interest from many disciplines, the humanities, science, medicine, and the measurements vary. So let's just take a look at one study. This one was looking at, what was the name of this one? This was improving health in healthcare practitioners. It was a randomized control trial of a gratitude invention. It was a double-blind randomized control trial in 5 public hospitals with 3 months post-treatment. There were 102 practitioners that were randomly assigned to 3 conditions: gratitude, hassle, and no treatment. Those, and any physician that had a long leave was excluded. Participants in the gratitude and hassle group, they wrote about their work-related gratitude or their hassle in diaries just twice a week for 4 weeks. The no diary group served as control. And what they found was that the gratitude intervention, whether it was compared to the control or hassle, there was a decline in stress and depressive symptoms over time. And the perceived stress was decreased. So taking stock, I mean, it's so simple, just twice a week, right, for 4 weeks, taking stock of thankful events, an effective approach to reduce stress and depressive symptoms in healthcare. But how do you do it, right? Like, so if you're not a journal person, that's okay. We can still kind of put the wheels on the bus of gratitude here, express it. Express it. If you see something, someone's done something kind that you do appreciate, let them know it. You can journal. Um, the idea whenever we're doing this is to really experience the sense, the feeling of appreciation. So it's not rote. And then as you do, I love kind of attuned to it. As you are keep holding yourself accountable to a gratitude practice, you find that you're looking for it, knowing that you're going to be holding yourself accountable later. And then you carry that sense of appreciation with you. So the real gift of gratitude is that the more grateful you are, the more present you become. That's from Dr. Holden. He's the director of the Happiness Project and Success Intelligence. So you kind of check that box of mindfulness too. Let's move on to meditation. This is a huge topic, right? Which we don't have time to cover the whole thing, but let's just talk quickly about like what it is. You can read the definition there, but unlike mindfulness practices that can be either formal or informal, meditation is a formal practice. It's usually done seated. The umbrella term includes many types, styles, and traditions. Given the time we have, we are going to focus on one research meditation practice. It really is, there's been a lot of work that's gone into looking at this one. It's called the loving kindness meditation. And the focus is on cultivating love, kindness, and compassion towards self and others. It's done through repeated phrases. It does foster and promote feelings of kindness and well-being. Chronic stress contributes to really unhelpful thoughts, and often the voice inside our own heads can be critical, it can be pressuring and unkind. We have thoughts about ourselves that we would never say to anyone, right? Especially someone that we love. So the core element here is creating an attitude of unconditional kindness towards oneself. This study, before we do the practice here, this study attempts to evaluate the effectiveness of a short, something less than 10 minutes, a non-intensive intervention for beginners in healthcare. The study compared a neutral visualization. This would be like just visualizing something like a park or a garage. The second group was to bring to mind all of their academic, professional, artistic, and athletic skills and repeat to themselves a series that reinforced the idea that they were successful. And then they compared the loving kindness. And the study showed that the loving kindness meditation can boost well-being and feelings of connection more than the other methods. And it suggests that it could be a really useful and quick way to prevent burnout, build resilience in healthcare workers, enhance patient quality. So let's just give it a try, okay? If you haven't, done this one before, just know sometimes all of these are practice, so it may sit well, it may not. Don't judge it, okay? But you're going to go ahead, and again, if you're driving, you can repeat these with your eyes open. But if you are seated in a place where you feel safe, I encourage you to assume the position, which would be to uncross your legs, put your feet flat on the floor, let your hands rest, stop the multitasking, and let your nervous system rest here. Sometimes it's the pace of life or just a heavy load that we seek to create to help us recover perspective with the loving kindness meditation. It helps stop the racing mind, create a little internal stability. We all have a natural capacity for kindness, but sometimes we don't take steps to nurture that. So I invite you to lower your gaze or close your eyes. Feel your body supported by the chair, your feet on the floor. Let your hands rest. Start with your feet and just soften upwards, just quickly. So through the feet, the legs, the hip, the abdomen, the sides of the body, the back, the neck and the head. Relax the arms. You're letting the tension drain now. And you make any adjustments that you need to so that you can be comfortable and at ease and pay attention. Turn your attention now to the movement of breathing and allow your breath to be just as it is. You're breathing perfectly well right now. When you feel comfortable resting with the flow of your breathing, picture someone in your life who loves you or who loved you unconditionally, or someone who evokes feelings of warmth and love. This is someone with whom you feel safe and whole. Could be a parent, a spouse, a child, a friend. It could even be someone that's been influential or inspirational that you don't know very well. But allow yourself to be filled with their care and loving kindness for you. And to the degree that feels right, giving yourself over to the feeling, the qualities of kindness, breathing them in, resting in the warmth and the radiance. Appreciate that you truly are unconditionally loved and accepted as who you are without having to be different, without having to be worthy. In fact, you may not feel worthy or deserving, but that doesn't matter. It's really irrelevant in this practice. Let your attention rest in your heart, and you will repeat these well wishes to yourself in your own mind. May I be well, healthy, and strong. May I be happy. May I abide in peace. May I feel safe and secure. May I feel loved and cared for. Now call to mind someone whom you know well and that you can easily extend the same well wishes to. This is someone who you have a deep sense of respect for. Maintain the feelings of love and warmth and kindness. Hold them in your mind's eye and heart and say to them, may you be well, healthy, and strong. May you be happy. May you abide in peace. May you feel safe and secure. May you feel loved and cared for. Maintain that feeling of warmth. We always close with ourselves in this practice. So one more time. May I be well, healthy, and strong. May I be happy. May I abide in peace. May I feel safe and secure. May I feel loved and cared for. And then when you are ready, you can just take a slightly deeper breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes when you can open your eyes. There are lots of phrases in that practice, so if those words didn't resonate with you, know that you can find others. The practice goes on to include people who are neutral in our life, to people that we're struggling with, and eventually to all beings. It just takes practice. All right, moving on here. We're coming to the end, but we have another section here to talk about, which is, okay, there's your stool again. And we just finished talking about the mind-body practices that really help us tone the nervous system, help mitigate the effects of stress. We need to talk about lifestyle practices. It's the second grouping of the self-care practices that belong in that leg, that help shore up that leg of the stool. And yeah, so there are whole courses around these subjects. Lifestyle coaching has become really popular to help individuals make what these seemingly simple but yet really difficult changes. Remember the path and the signs, right? We can choose adaptive coping or maladaptive coping. Choosing these behaviors can really help us cope. And again, the more often we respond to stress in an adaptive manner, the more likely we can handle it that way in the future. But why are healthy choices so hard, right? We don't have time to go in depth into all of these self-care practices, but let's just take time to talk about why they're hard. You know, we've been having a conversation on these for decades, literally, and our environment may not have changed, or I'm sorry, our environment may have changed, but we as humans are still really hardwired to be properly nourished, rested, moved, natured, meaning getting back out to connect with nature, and to connect with one another. So we're going to briefly talk about these, maybe give you some tips and some insight. These are things really to turn towards. You know, in terms of movement, we have more sedentary jobs than we ever have. Tech has made it really easily to be immobile, but the body needs movement. We're born to move. Movement is medicine. There are many different ways to move. And like all the practices proven by science here, there's an effect on the body and the mind. I think it's interesting that the human body is like the Swiss Army knife of movement potential. So just ask yourself, you know, how do you want to move? If we're not seated during the day, we tend to just move forward, kind of in one plane. So what is it that you want to do? Body weight, Tai Chi, kind of get 2 for 1 here with yoga. Well, yoga and Tai Chi, running, hiking. My favorite is the rebounder, just a few minutes. Just give it some thought. How can you turn towards exercise as a way to cope? Nourishment. We are overwhelmed with information in this regard. Eating has become a mindless activity around the world. I just Googled foods that you can eat with one hand. I wish you could guess how many hits there are, but I'm going to tell you anyway. 735 million hits on Google. That's because this is what our culture is craving. No pun intended, to multitask and eat. This is how many people want to know, how many foods can I eat with one hand? Can I eat it in the car? Can I multitask? Can I do it while I'm walking? Mindless eating has unintended consequences, and there are so many fast but yet unhealthy foods that are so at our disposal. So yes, it is better when we slow down and eat, but if you can't, which I know sometimes you can't, if you're going to walk to your next class or your appointment eating, try to do so with mindfulness, right? Pay more attention to your intake, even if you're walking, even if you can't sit down. Make sure that you taste it. Taste what you're taking in. You know, yeah, ideally we would sit down for meals. I know that's not possible at every meal every day, but bring some more mindfulness to how you are eating. Sleep here. Ooh, big topic. Technology, noise, blue light are modern interferences with sleep, as well as modern day tension from stress, right? Which readies us for action. It's not conducive to sleep. So just as a tip here, consider putting yourself to bed like a toddler. Put your brain to bed like you would put a toddler to bed. You know what you wouldn't do to put a toddler to bed, right? So maybe you take a shower, read just a touch of something inspiring, listen to some soothing music, stretch, listen to a relaxation like we did. That can really help you catch that first important stage of sleep. So whatever sleep you do get would be quality sleep. Right? Social connection. The Surgeon General released an advisory in 2023 titled The Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation. It's a quote from him, Dr. Murthy. We are called to build a movement to mend the social fabric of our nation. Each of us can start now in our own lives by strengthening our connection relationships. Our individual relationships are untapped resource, a source of healing that is hiding in plain sight. They can help us live healthier, more productive, and more fulfilled lives. Simple. Answer the phone call from a friend. Make time to share a meal. Listen mindfully without distraction. Perform an act of service. These are keys to human connection. They're simple, but extraordinarily powerful. Nature, the last one here. We spent 99.9% of our evolutionary time in much closer approximation to the natural world. Our modern conveniences allow us to be inside. We're suffering as a result. Many ways to get out into nature, to bring it in. The studies are fascinating about access or nature scenes, access to outdoor spaces, the colors of green and blue windows. They're motivating. There was a study on college students. It's shown that just 1 to 5 minutes of a green break on campus effectively supported stress relief. Nature experiences of 10 to 20 minutes have shown to improve mood by an average of 86% amongst college students, and can significantly positively impact psychological and physiological markers for college-age students. It's not limited to college-age students, right? We spent 99.9% of our evolutionary time outside. Just let's try to get outside, get some fresh air, support your circadian rhythm. As to wrap up here, we just have like a couple minutes left. We're gonna, we know that it can be difficult. And when you're not feeling well, or you're not feeling your best, start asking these questions. You know, how did I sleep? Did I eat, drink? Have I connected? Did I get outside? Did I move? Did I seek support? But let's pull it all together. You're gonna give me, we're gonna call this art. Okay, not Da Vinci, but art truly has the capacity to help us learn through imagery. So this is a body with stressed warning signals, right? I'm not going to read them all to you. These are just very common ones. We all have stress warning signals. I would encourage you to make your own body. How do you know that you're stressed? What does it feel like in your physical body? What thoughts do you have when you're stressed? What emotions are present, right? Those warning signals are your cue to care for yourself, right? What would happen if we took this body over several weeks? We put it to bed like a toddler, right? We gave it a relaxation. During the day, connected with friends, exercised a bit over several weeks, took it outside more, did some loving kindness, right? Mindfully aware during the day that these warning signals were present so that you could take some steps to care for yourself. What would happen? Especially if we chose those instead of maladaptive coping, right? What would happen is that we get these well-being signals. I do this exercise a lot with people individually and with groups. And what I will tell you is that the well-being signals are much more difficult for people to identify. The calling to all of us is to remember well-being. It's to remember what we feel like. Your best self is always there. It's just sometimes encumbered by tension in the body and mind. Be your own human being experience and create your own upward spiral to get to that place. And how do you do it? Here's our recommendation. Create your own MDR, your own minimum daily requirement of self-care. What can you do in 5 minutes, right? What is calling you? What can you do in 5 minutes with these tools? Whether it's mindfulness or you do a relaxation or gratitude, exercise, get outside. What are you going to do that could satisfy your MDR, right? Your well-being. You can cut the slides free if you want. No, we're almost done. I want to make sure you get off on time, but your well-being, you know, as a doctor, as a medical student, as a resident, is just important as that of your patients. You're human. You all have many, many gifts and tremendous knowledge to share. The calling here is to bring it forth with your best self and attuned nervous system and positive mind. So I know some of these feel like though you're putting a toe into kind of the untrodden path of self-care, stepping off. The calling is though to step off that super highway of the modern cultural imbalance. because it truly can make a difference in your day. So thank you so much for letting us be here with you. I really appreciate you and giving us the opportunity to share these practices.
Well, thank you so much. This is great. And I know we have a little bit of time. I know that we put in the survey in the themselves, and I think Bess, you want to kind of share a few other things too, because this is very, very helpful. I think you're developing these skills, not just for medical students, but also through busy time training and residency and attending is very, very helpful. So hit the survey thing. I think we have also want to make an announcement also about some other upcoming events with Lending Hearts too.
Again, we welcome you to join us next Wednesday, May 8th at 7 p.m. Just the May 8th is next Wednesday at 7 p.m. We're going to have Dr. Shematelli from Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh speak. He's an endocrinologist. He was previously at St. Jude's, so he has a special focus on endocrinology with oncology patients, and he's going to speak about the impact of cancer and cancer treatment on the endocrine system and hormone health. The focus of this discussion is on our patients and their families, but again, we welcome everyone to be a part of it. It's an open discussion, so questions can be submitted in advance when you RSVP. Everything is on our website. I put in the chat box. Our Lending Hearts website is lendinghearts.org. You can see that presentation coming up, as well as other programming that we offer to see a little bit more about us and what we do. And again, we thank you so much for today and this opportunity to be with you, and more to come.
That's good. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. Again, wonderful grand rounds. Thank you so much. And